we've been taught a dangerous lie about wealth. It's so deeply rooted in our culture that most people never question it. The lie is simple, that the number in your bank account is the ultimate measure of success. That, as long as the figure is big enough, you've won the game. But history tells a very different story. It's a story about people who had more money than entire countries, yet ended up ruined. And it is also about others who never held vast fortunes but built something far more durable. Real value. The kind that doesn't evaporate when the market turns. If you understand the difference between wealth and value, you'll see why most people are chasing the wrong prize. Let us start in one of the wealthiest courts in human history. France, under King Louis XIV. The Sun King turned Versailles into the center of European luxury: gold, marble, lavish gardens. On the surface, France was unimaginably rich, but this wealth was brittle. The economy relied on war, colonial extraction, and debt, while the financial system beneath it was hollowing out. Fast forward a few decades, and a financier named John Law tried to fix things with paper money and the Mississippi Company. At first, it worked like magic. Fortunes multiplied on paper. But it wasn't real value. The company's profits were inflated, and when confidence collapsed in 1720, the paper wealth vanished overnight. Those who had chased the illusion of fast money were ruined. Those who held tangible assets, land, production, skills weathered the storm. This pattern repeats everywhere. In the 1920s, American investors rode the stock market like a one-way elevator to the top. But when the crash of 1929 came, that wealth evaporated. The survivors were those whose assets still held utility farms that could grow food, factories that could produce essentials. The lesson is simple. Money is a claim on value, not value itself. If the underlying value disappears, the money becomes meaningless. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Much of what we call wealth today is fragile. Stocks are priced on future expectations. Real estate values depend on interest rates and market sentiment. Even currencies are only as strong as the trust people have in them. Lose that trust, and history shows how fast wealth turns to dust. Think of the Weimar Republic in the 1920s, Zimbabwe in the 2000s, or Venezuela today. In each case, people who measured their fortune in the local currency went broke, while those who had value in hard assets or transferable skills preserved their prosperity. So, if wealth is the number, what is value? Value is the capacity to produce, to endure, and to be useful regardless of the financial climate. Value can be a skill you can trade, a network you can rely on, or an asset that generates essential goods. Value holds when markets panic because people need it, and that need is the most resilient currency of all. Look at Japan's economic bubble in the 1980s. At its peak, the land under the Imperial Palace in Tokyo was said to be worth more than all of California. When the bubble burst, trillions of dollars of wealth evaporated. Yet the country didn't disappear because it still had something more important: a highly educated workforce and a world-class manufacturing base. That was value. It didn't prevent pain, but it provided the foundation for recovery. The modern financial system constantly blurs this line because it's profitable for those in power. They prefer you to chase numbers on a statement rather than build a resilient personal economy. The more you confuse wealth for value, the easier it is to trap you in cycles of dependency. The reason most people never become truly financially free is they chase wealth without building value. They focus on accumulation without asking, what is this wealth actually made of? Real freedom comes when your livelihood doesn't depend on a system you don't control. In the modern era, this means diversifying the forms of value you hold. It could mean owning productive assets, land, or technology. It could mean mastering a skill that will always be in demand, like coding or construction. It could mean cultivating relationships that provide opportunities when formal systems falter. All of these are forms of value that can outlast paper wealth. History is filled with elites who lived lavishly but had no real value to fall back on. The French aristocrats, the robber barons whose empires collapsed, the tech millionaires rich on stock options until the bubble burst, all were wealthy until they weren't. Because wealth without value is a castle made of sand. This isn't just an interesting historical observation. It's the dividing line between those who survive economic storms and those who are swept away. The same forces that bankrupted French nobles and collapsed Wall Street are at work today. Understanding this difference gives you the power to step away from the illusions and start building something that lasts. Something no market crash, currency devaluation, or political shift can take from you. So, if you take one thing away from this, let it be this. Learn to tell the difference between wealth and value. The financial system thrives when you chase numbers, because numbers can be manipulated. Value is harder to fake. Value resists collapse, and value, unlike speculative wealth, will still be there when the illusions fade. If this gave you a new perspective, hit subscribe. History has the answer, Zyle. Showed you where to look.